Hey, it's Sean from the Commander's Brew. Welcome to The Lost Cards, the show where we go a little bit deeper and show you some other strategies and cards we didn't use on our most recent deck tech. If you didn't see our deck tech on Veyran Voice of Duality, you should check it out. But here is The Lost Cards on Veyran Voice of Duality.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. It is the Lost Cards for Veyran Voice of Duality. Sean, this was a really, it looked like a very powerful deck with big X spells, some combos in there as well, some generating mana type stuff. This was a really cool deck that you and, of course, our Discord put together.
Yeah. So... right, if you haven't heard the show before, go give that a quick listen. It was about X spells, but there's obviously a ton of ways to go. The first way that came to mind that I wanted to get away from, because I feel like this is probably the most common Veyran deck, I would suspect, it's the token Go Wide one. So you're going to run Talran, Sky Summoner, Young Pyromancer, all of those cards that make a token when you cast a spell. And of course, Veyran will make 2 tokens, right? Those spells will trigger twice.
That's nice.
And since you're already kind of doing like a stormy kind of thing, like Docent of Perfection specifically creates wizard tokens, and after you have a few wizards, they're all flying all of a sudden. So I think if you want to have like Adeliz the Cinderwind as kind of a backup kind of assistant commander in there, so now all those little wizards are getting +1/+1 twice because Adeliz is triggering twice every time you cast an opt. So I feel like that package is definitely a way you could go. And I kind of leaned away from that for the show's brew. But like there's no shortage of creatures that do this, no shortage of spells to pump the team, which will pump them extra. I think this might be an even more explosive out of nowhere version of the deck, actually.
Yeah, it feels like you can, I mean, in these colors, it can't be that hard, but giving them haste and just getting in there seems like that's definitely something that's possible.
Yeah.
What about using Orvar?
Oh, right. So we know. So imagine the world where we're going wide with a ton of tokens. Orvar is just an amazing combo with Veyran because Orvar triggers twice. So whenever we target one of our things, we get to make 2 token copies because of Orvar's ability. And naturally, if you've got Orvar in an Izzet deck, you're going to want to sneak a Zada in there somewhere. So you're targeting your own things. Zada's also triggering twice. It breaks the brain, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Like how to figure out, so how many tokens am I getting? And I'm copying the spell twice for everybody because of Zada. It starts to be like, it might be too much. It might be like, if you're not doing this on a computerized version of Magic, it's too much. I wouldn't know how to figure it out.
This is definitely, I was thinking this when we were doing the main episode too. It's like, there's a couple interactions here where like if you're playing over spell table or in person even, or like you're going to want to know your like combos. You're going to want to like goldfish this one a little bit just so you can be like, okay, I know how this interaction works. Like I know how these cards are going to create mana or how many triggers I'm going to get and so on. Like it's always nice to do that, even just for you. So you're not like, what? So you don't miss anything.
I mean, could there be any more of a Prismari deck that you have to rehearse it? You can't just go to the show unrehearsed with a Prismari commander deck.
That's exactly it. You got to know your lines. You got to.
Yeah, right. Yep. Right. You're going to wake up in the middle of the night being like, oh, I don't know my triggers. Like I had a nightmare where I was on stage playing my deck and I didn't know what the cards did.
And that's what you want to do. You want to be on sstage. You want to be pulling out flashy combos, and then this does this, and this does this, and this does this. You don't want to be up there going like, boo,
cast a spell.
I think this triggers him. I don't know.
Boo.
Yeah, that's everyone's nightmare. That's that is an absolute nightmare. So you don't want to be in that situation.
And no.
If you're watching, I mean, maybe don't boo the people. It's a tough deck to play. But yeah, it's good to know that stuff going into it, right?
Is there I feel like we're getting close to the boo territory when people are playing those decks where their one turn takes like 30 minutes, but they don't advance that much. Like, it's like, you're not even winning. You're taking 30 minutes.
I think we've all had those turns for sure. We've all had those turns where you're like, you feel like something big is there.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I got to do this. And then I do this. And then I think this. And then you realize you're like, oh, actually.
Well, that did nothing.
Oh, actually, okay. You know what? Just pass the turn. It's like, you took a half hour to do that. Boo! 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 Yeah.
Oh,
that's
boy.
big time boo.
Big time boo.
Boo situation right there.
Yeah, okay. So I want to highlight another move with Orvar. So Orvar copies the permanent that we target. So this card is pretty expensive. This is a $35 card from Tempest. But it's Whim of Volrath. It's a single blue, and you can buy it back for 2. So you can pay 3 mana infinite times to cast it over and over and over. Change the text of target permanent by replacing all instances of one color word or basic land type with another until end of turn. What this means is, it doesn't matter what the permanent is. We're allowed to target it and not have anything to change. So it's just a trigger machine for Orvar. And if we trigger a Gilded Lotus, or if Veyran's out, any mana rock that produces 2 or more mana, we'll get copies of Gilded Lotus. Whim of Volrath is back in our hand. I'll cast it on the new Gilded Lotus, or the old one, using the new Gilded Lotus's mana. Infinite Whim of Volrath casts, infinite Veyran triggers, infinite of any other when you cast a spell triggers. And then you have infinite artifacts of Gilded Lotuses. So if for some reason you didn't win, when the table comes back around, now you have like,
you have infinite mana still, basically. Yeah.
I still have infinite mana.
Amazing. Wow.
So that's a fun move. $30 card. I don't know if this card got expensive once Orvar came out, or if it's a reserve list thing. I actually don't know.
Oh yeah, it's from Tempest. I don't know what's on the
Tempest reserve list.
I have no idea.
I don't know, man. I
know.
don't pay attention to that stuff.
I know, me neither.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime you're doing stuff like this, you got to think of Storm. It feels like, right? And this kind of reminds me of the Extus deck we had going on here, where Stormkiln Artist was a big player in that one. The Magecraft trigger is just going nuts with copy spells and things like that. So, like I mentioned this in the show too, where it feels like that alley to go down with Veyran is going to be, it's going to really pay off for you as well. Especially this one, you're making treasure tokens, like doubling up the treasure tokens and going infinite that way.
Yeah, you can go infinite quite easily with a copy spell, where you copy the copy spell and copy that, and that doesn't work for regular triggers, but it works for Magecraft.
Yeah.
So you can get an infinitely big Veyran or an infinitely big Stormkiln Artist via all the treasure tokens. And then all you need to do is make something unblockable, right? Like cast one of those like artful dodges, a single blue from the graveyard with flashback or from your hand. That's a win right
just
there.
Have a Rogue's Passage or whatever.
Rogue's Passage, right? It doesn't so Charmbreaker, Devils, and Kiln Fiend are cards that get bigger as you cast spells, but that has to be the cast. But this deck ends up casting enough spells that like they could get huge anyway with a little unblockable trigger to just do some major damage. So I think these are fine includes in most Veyran decks.
Unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, the Magecraft is it really feels like it's unlocking a lot of like broken combo stuff that we kind of had a little peek, like a little piece of. We could see like there's possible we had to use more cards. It feels like now we just have to use less cards to do it, because Magecraft triggers on copies, and like we just pointed out, like Fury Storm and things like that are just that's gonna work with that, right?
They've been so careful that like copies don't trigger this effect.
Yeah.
And they've been very careful. They've never, so the decision to break that had to be one they didn't come too lightly. Like they knew they were opening up a little bit of a Pandora's box on this one.
Yeah, and it seems like they're not shying away from it. Like they're just printing something like Veyran, which to me, again, seems like a very good, very, very strong commander with these abilities. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
So like Veyran, so you're gonna like Veyran at its core, you could turn a feather deck into Veyran quite easily. Veyran goes in a feather deck, no sweat. Secret Zada things, Veyran's the new captain of those things. Veyran's pretty versatile, I think. Those are the angles we kind of came up with, and that's kind of all that I had in mind with it. I didn't find any other super sneaky cards.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's like a someone that could give Mizzix a good run for his money for being a commander, but also just works well in a Mizzix deck. Is possible. Although I think it might even be the other way around, where like Mizzix might be a great 99 include for Veyran, actually.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Look up this card do me a favor. This is when I found that. What do you think of this one? This was interesting to me. Lapis Lazuli Talisman.
Okay, for an artifact, pay 3 untapped target permanent. I'll read the Oracle text. Whenever a player casts a blue spell, you may pay 3 if you do untap target permanent.
So I thought about this in the Veyran deck that builds up like big mana rocks. Mm-hmm. If you've got a mana rock that's making more than 3 mana, this is a way to make infinite mana with blue spells. Because the blue spell triggers it, and you're allowed to, as long as you have some 3 left over with that mana rock, you're allowed to untap it with this talisman. I don't know. I don't know if it's that useful, but
something with buyback you could see that working for sure, right?
Yeah, or at least even if you don't have buyback, even an opt would net you mana if the thing is making a bunch of mana.
Yeah,
like if you've got a ton of counters on an Astral Cornucopia, or that what's that engine that you add a counter every time you tap it and it adds mana to your mana pool? Empowered Auto Generator or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's actually is what it's called. How do you
yeah.
Yep,
so like
Auto Generator.
And there is a talisman, as you might expect from cards of this era, for every color of spell.
Right.
So like so I feel like this might be one that, like, you know, get your opponents to pick it up off the table and read, because they're like, what is this?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, if you're I think it seems to me, though, that the key here for this entire deck is Veyran, is the commander. This is going to be a deck that you're going to be like, take care of this commander, and that's how you're going to slow this deck down. Because obviously the double triggers are one thing that's going to let it get out of hand. So if you can do that, you should be okay against it, I suppose. Yet another reason to run that kind of targeted removal, that instant speed removal. Let's just hope that they don't syncopate it.
Yes.
All right. Well, that looks good to me. I mean, a couple different angles you can go. Powerful commander. Let us know. Hey, sound off in the comments if you got a different angle with Veyran. This is an exciting new commander. Exciting new Prismari stuff coming out of Strixhaven. Let us know, and we're gonna keep brewing. We're gonna be back next week. So check us out, and we'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you love what we're doing, consider supporting the show by going to patreon.com/commandersbrew.
And if you want to get any of the cards from our deck list, go to our TCG Player affiliate link below.
That helps us out too, and for a free way to help us out, consider sharing the show with some friends. Like and subscribe, add a comment or two.
See you later.
Bye.